protect yourself. At any time you are conscious of a tingling sensation, you may obtain immediate relief by screaming.
I'm glad. So it's been a few months since we last spoke.
It has, yeah.
And reading between the lines of what I've been noticing on your posts on Facebook and blah blah blah, a lot seems to have happened for Witchfynde.
Yes, it has. We've got a new lineup. Well, a new old lineup really. We've got Jamie Carter, who had 6 months off, had a bit of a rest, and he's come back much rejuvenated, extremely keen, and we've got a brand new drummer. He also is more than more than keen. He's absolutely fabulously keen. We've had 2 rehearsals, and it's looking that we will be starting recording very, very soon.
That's brilliant. So what happened? Was there just a breakdown?
I'd rather not go into it if possible.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Let's just say the previous lineup didn't fit together, didn't gel.
No.
There are a lot of reasons why, but
That's fair enough.
at this point, no comment, sort of thing on it.
That's absolutely fine. That's some. We talked about Witchfynde from the past in our previous interview, and there was a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about, if you don't mind. One of them being paganism and your spirituality, and how that is in your life, and the other thing is as you said, you just mentioned your wife. I mean, she's very poorly, and you don't keep good health either. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was how disabilities affect you as a rock musician. How does it affect your life, and what do you think could be done to help you as a performer?
Well, the thing is also that we've both, and my daughter, we've all been diagnosed on the autistic spectrum.
Right.
And that obviously has affected my life quite in some ways. I mean, we're on the high end of it. My daughter's got a high 2-1 degree in zoology, so it's not affected her that way. But your day-to-day dealing with people can be a bit difficult, and it's caused me problems in the past. The fact, I mean, you're born and you're inside yourself. You don't realize that you're different to somebody else, or you think I'm a weird. And of course, the teenage years could be a bit of a handful. But we live through it. I mean, the problem you've got with autism is you tend to sort of fixate a lot on certain things, like music for one. That fills most of my head most of the time, and the other thing was railways and model railways. So when I left school, I thought, I'm going to go on the railway. So after a year or so, I realised I didn't really want to be there, but I was signed up for an apprenticeship, so I had to finish it. It did, in the middle of it, I did have a mental breakdown. I actually went to the Derby and Derbyshire Art College and said, could I change over to do photography instead? And no, you haven't got any A levels in art, so you can't do it. So that sort of tipped me over a bit over the edge. But you survive, you come back. At the end of the day, I've got an apprenticeship. I could walk into a job anywhere doing various things, which has held me in good stead for cash, before and after the band. But I mean, I can remember. I'm showing how old I am now. When I was 5, there was a program on. It was a 6-5 special. It was a rock and roll show. Most of the bands were rock and rollers.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Jerry Lee Lewis singing "Great Balls of Fire" and Fats Domino doing "Blueberry Hill." And of course, you've got the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And I thought, I like the Rolling Stones because my mum says, you shouldn't like them. Look at them. They look dirty. They do the scruffy. And I thought, well, why not? And then the Kinks came along and did, sort of like, I thought, well, I like that because it's like virtually the first heavy metal, sort of.
Absolutely,
riff. And then when I was 15, I used to go to my aunt and uncle's house, and my elder cousin Dave, he he had a really eclectic record collection, and we had things like Mothers of Invention, Captain Beefheart, Trackmaster Replica, Grateful Dead live album. So he got me into a whole different sort of ball game of music, away from pop and soul and all the rest of it. So I sort of went from there, and as soon as I got a job, I sort of went down, and I go all over the place, and I get all the records he got. Then I got into Frank Zappa immensely, and bought all his albums. But then I used to go on a Friday, get my wage packet on a Friday, and go down to Derby and just thumb through the rack. Oh, that looks interesting. I'll buy about 3 albums a week. And because I was living at home and used to give mum some bored, but days were a lot easier in those days. You know, money went a lot further.
It certainly did.
And so that's where that sort of side of it came from. And the sort of vinyl albums, I used 400, 500 vinyl albums plus singles and all the rest of it. So it sort of gelled from there. Then I thought, oh, why not have a go on guitar? But, excuse me, being autistic, it meant that I couldn't handle a book and try to learn that way. So I just found out how to tune it up and went from there. And then sort of like I played Peaches on Regalia or something like that, and then try and do a harmony lead break along with Frank Zappa, which worked. And then I found Grandfoot Railroad, and the bass sound just was amazing. Same with Jack Bruce and that sort of distorted bass sound. And then a friend of mine, he bought a bass guitar. It was a Fender Precision, and asked me if I could fetch it. So before I took it round to his house, I had to play. It was the wrong way round. It was some left-handed. But I thought, yeah, I like this. So later on, I met up at the Seven Stars pub in Derby with Gray from Witchfynde, and we got together from there. And then I switched to bass. But I always, with the autism, I found out, I sort of like would do it myself. I found out where the notes were, and I couldn't learn like with a teacher. I've never been really good at that. I mean, I left school with 8 O levels. I mean, I'm not, by any means thick, but
no, not at all.
But for me myself, I always found out I could learn better myself, and I've done that in later life as well. And so, it sort of, that's what led me into Witchfynde and all the rest of that. But yeah, other things of, before I was in that, I ended up with bulimia and had a few mental breakdowns along the way. And music actually was the thing that got me out of all that.
Yeah, as he does so many people. Do you think music was ideal for you as somebody with autism? Because music is a very insular thing. It's a very personal thing, isn't it? You experience within yourself.
I think even though some people don't realise, I think there is a lot of autistic musicians. I know quite a few. And I watched that documentary recently on Jimi Hendrix, and just some of the things he said and the way he learned. I think he was, and the things when he said near the end, he said, "I'm now bored of being a rock star." I thought, yeah, that's it. That's definitely it, because autistic people do that. And once you decide I'm bored with it, you just leave it. You can't do it anymore. It has its bad points in the way that. Maybe when I left Witchfynde, some of it was my fault because I hadn't got the communication skills, and just it turned to anger, and that led me to 22 years without listening to Witchfynde ever. I just shut it out. It was such a big divorce, as you might call it. That
absolutely,
I was offered somebody rang up my mum's house 3 days after I left and offered me a gig. I didn't even find out who the band was. I just said no. They got a record contract and they wanted a bass player, and I just said no, thank you, and tried to get my own band Malleus up and running, which that was trying to get musicians was a bit of a thing around Derby at the time. But anyway, so when it comes down to the cancer, I didn't know I got cancer. We'd taken Shaz's dad. Unfortunately, her mum died. I think it was October 2016, and we took him away to the Isle of Wight for Christmas. And while I was there, I took it on Boxing Day, and went down to the local hospital, 111, and you've got pneumonia. So when I got back, I had to stop an extra time because I wasn't able to drive. I was the only driver. I then had to go for an X-ray, and then they found I got all these secondary lesions. I then went down, I got a myeloma. But at the same time, before then, October, we've got a little wall at the side of the house, and I climbed down there, I walked along the wall and jumped down the other end, and I collapsed into a heap. I was shunted on, so I did everything right, knees bent, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Not knowing that myeloma gives you osteoporosis. It wicks all the calcium out of your bones. So I ended up having 5 broken vertebrae and being 4 inches shorter than I was to start with. So, that's pretty well permanent. From I get pain in my back from my neck all the way down right to the bottom, because for I think T3, the right at the bottom, the 3, 4, and 5 are smashed to bits basically from that. But I'm still walking, I'm still standing, I can still drive, I can still, under pain most of the time, but I can play long enough to do a gig. I mean, rehearsals sometimes are a bit hard, but you grit your teeth and you do it. But that's part of the autism. It's like with when they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you've got myeloma, you've got cancer." They said, "Well, you could, they put you in a little room with all these chairs." Of course, I didn't know we have that with Shaz. And I said, "We can take the tissues away." I said, "My wife's treated it, with done this with integrity and dignity. My dad did the same. Unfortunately, his was incurable. It's too late when they found it." I said, "I'm going to treat it as an inconvenience, not a death sentence." And that was 2017, and I'm still here. It's still clear now, and that inspires people in the fact that
absolutely, and so
you can't give up. I mean, I think Shaz and I, throughout our life, have done it. The equivalent, if the metaphor would be the Blues Brothers thing, where they get blown up and they're brushing the bricks off and just walk off again. We've had to do that time and time again, financially and other things. And you just got to keep, and I think the autism helps in that, because you just won't give up. And as it's proven with Witchfynde, I've kept it going, and last man standing sort of thing. But also during that time, goes real back to the teen years, and that's when I started to find out about the occult, reading books, and it sort of came from sort of interest in aliens and UFOs and ancient artifacts, and thinking, hang on, where's all this come from? They didn't read this at school. And as I've always told my daughter, I said, go to school, just get your O levels, and then forget that and start learning the truth. That's
right.
And then I started buying books, and then when I met up with Witchfynde, and Montalo was heavily, he's a Wiccan anyway, isn't it? And he did a tarot reading. He said, "I can't believe how much this says that you're into the occult." I said, "Well, yes, I am." And so we used to talk about Crowley, about all sorts of things. And then we went down to a shop that it's probably well gone now, but it was in Northampton. And I bought a caduceus, because I used to wear that on stage. That was my sign, being Gemini. And then I bought the Book of Solomon as well on there. And I mean, I went away to Florida this year, and I bought a couple of occult books from there. Sort of one was how to be a Wiccan on your own, sort of thing, and that sort of thing. That, because again, being autistic, you tend to be very solitary and just thinking about things. And I believe that you can do a lot with that through your own mind. That you can. It's like when Shaz had, because we've got a house that is haunted, We've got a ghost cat that looks like ours, which can be quite weird at times because you can see the ghost one at the corner of your eye, and you go, which one is it? And he'll go to his basket and he'll go, oh, can't go in it because the ghost cat's in it. And there's a little old lady that likes to tuck you in bed at night.
Oh.
And but there used to be a really malevolent spirit next door. Apparently, I don't know if he committed suicide or what, but it was quite a nasty spirit.
Ooh.
And so when she was at her most vulnerable, I would at night I would visualize her wrapped in gold, silver light, and then put a shield around the whole room so that she got there. And then the only things she has a spirit guide, a Native American, and a wolf. She is so heavily into wolves.
Yeah.
And they came to her as well. And we had a little altar at the side of the bed. And she was 8 years clear. Make one mistake she did make, that the thing that she was taking instead of all the rubbish they give you, which is a thing called Chrisin, she stopped taking it and it started to come back. But she's doing it again now, and not taking what they told you. Neither did I, to a certain degree. I would have done it a lot differently if now. But I still take curcumin every day, in a liquid capsule, because she has found there'd been a University of Vermont, I think it was. They'd done a study and they found that because they give you a thing called Velcade, which is injected in your stomach every week, which is awful. And it can give you necrosis of your fingers, your hair thins. It's not as bad as the really bad ones. And they give you thalidomide. But then they want to give you 30 steroid tablets, 15 a day, which then your immune system is screwed, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Completely. So you've got to carry the card around saying if you get a sneeze, you've got to end up in A&E.
Yeah.
So no, we're not having any of that. And then you've got to have blood thinners as well. Inject that in your stomach. So we thought, no, I'm not having this. I mean, she found out that this study said that if you combine, because if you take thalidomide with the steroid, you've got a 75% chance of having an embolism.
Oh.
If you take curcumin and thalidomide, it works 75% more efficiently at killing myeloma stem cells, and you have 2% chance of having an embolism.
Then it's got to be that way. Eh? That's got to be the best way.
I must admit, the month after, when you do your next blood test, you're thinking, have I done the right thing? I'm killing myself. And then, oh no, your bloods are clear. You're back to normal after 4 weeks. And anyway, carried that on for right through to August of 2017. And I carry the curcumin on now. And touch wood, apart from having COVID right at the start, don't get coughs, colds, or anything. So it works.
Good.
And
there's a lot of remedies that is poo-pooed by the mainstream in our medical profession, and they work. They really do work.
And also believe in the power of the mind.
Absolutely, yeah.
That you can and you can remotely heal people. Shaz and I did it for one of her, I think it's a cousin who'd had a car crash, and basically she was pronounced that brain damaged. She ended up having, being married and got a kid. So, and we just spent lots and lots of time sending energy, pure golden energy, you name it. And then doing physical things, like her dad couldn't go to see her at Nottingham Queen's Med because somebody stole his car out of the car park, so we lent him a car. Because we do things like that as well,
which is a very pagan thing to do.
Yeah, and when you look at it, I mean, midwifery was considered evil, and all the rest of it, and the fact that all the modern drugs are derivatives of all the old
There you
remedies. And this is why with Carrie-Anne, we read a report that an oncologist in America felt really, she was a woman, and she felt really guilty about giving her patients tamoxifen or Arimidex after because the side effects from those are horrendous. And she decided that she was going to try Carrie-Anne. Then we found out that the drug companies for about 6 years have been trying to synthesize it, but for some reason, when they just take those chemicals, it doesn't work. It's a bit like that Medicine Man film, you know. It doesn't work. So, and there is other remedies. There's Native American. There's a SEAC for breast cancer and other cancers that know that they work, but they can't make money from it, so they're not interested.
That's why they're not interested.
Yeah, and it sort of annoys me intensely. But I think the other good thing, going back to the autism, is the fact that you don't accept the bullshit. Basically, that's putting it nicely. You have to investigate everything.
You make it sound and as if it's a narrow line between what somebody would say is autistic and therefore less knowledgeable. But in actual fact, I would argue, and I don't know whether you'll agree with this, but I would argue that an autistic person as an alternative way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
And like you say, they see through the bullshit, and they also are able to put pieces together of a puzzle that everyone else would just go, that can't, no, that makes no sense.
Exactly. You do. You learn. I mean, I was given things at work when I was an apprentice because I'd done my job, and they say, well, there was like all these bits in a gearbox. Put that together. Half an hour later, it's all done. Because I can think in colour, and I can think in pictures and in 3D, so I can put things together easy. Yeah. That's another thing. And then I can see the relations, like with music and numbers, and the fact that, you know, you've got eight notes an octave, everything's numerical.
It is, absolutely, which goes back to Pythagoras.
Yep. And it's sort of like all those logic things. If you take an autistic person, really, the first sort of icon would be Mr. Spock from Star Trek.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's totally logical. And you tend to also, you can either go two ways. You can either have the sort of autistic panic attack, or you can just go, like, you learn eventually to go, no, let's just take a breath and deal with it. But it is the biggest problem is like, can't read faces and those sorts of things, and you take people at face value and you can get hurt quite a lot that way.
Yeah.
Because being autistic, you tend to be just what you know. It's the old WYSIWYG thing. You know, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And you learn the hard way that not all people are like that.
No.
They'll tell you what, you know, two-faced.
No. People can be very obtuse.
Yeah. So so that got me into, I think, the curiosity into paganism, into, I wouldn't say I'm in any strict thing. We've got a friend on the Isle of Wight. He communicates with angels. He's a beautiful guy. And he said to me, he says, oh yeah, he said, you've had a bit of a rough time. He said, you've had a lot of karma to work through. And I said, well, yeah, I would agree with that one. But then sometimes you think, when's it going to end? Or when's the good times going to be? But between you and me, you know, things are getting better that way, a lot better.
That's good.
But also, as I told my daughter, I said, unless you experience bad things, you'll never appreciate the good.
No, you are a very philosophical man, aren't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, true. I think that helps at time. But I always look for, you know, it's like when you go out in nature, you see people, say, you know, walk up like in Peak District or Cromford Canal or somewhere like that. And we were, it was one evening, you know, going towards twilight, and we were stood on on this bridge over the canal near Cromford, and there's a water vole, and it's there at the side and munching away, and people going, "Oh, what are you looking at? Oh, there's a water vole." "Oh, I've never seen one." "Well, you won't, because you walk around with your eyes closed and your mind shut off." And we stop. I mean, we've had communication with woodpeckers. This case in where you walk along, and then there was a chopped off tree, and on top of it was a black and red woodpecker, and he just sat there, and we stood, and we sort of non-verbally communicated until and then he flew off. But he wasn't frightened. And I always talk to all the birds and all the cats, dogs in the area, and all, they're sentient beings. Well,
absolutely.
So
do you think that, I mean, there are sort of movements within the music industry about, and there's been one or two books published recently about mental health and about physical health in the music industry. Do you think there is enough knowledge and support out there for people with mental health problems, with autism, with physical disabilities? Or
I don't think there is.
No.
I mean, let's take it for instance. Even with physical problems, I used to be a member of the Musicians Union. When I got cancer, obviously I couldn't earn.
Yeah,
I wasn't of pensionable age. We were getting no advice from anywhere, and at the same time, she has lost her job. She's made redundant, so we got no money coming in. Got a mortgage and panic stations. I rang Musicians Union up. They says, "Because I can't afford to pay you, because it's quite a considerable amount of money per month." Yeah. And they just turned around and said, "Well, your membership year is in August. If you can't pay it, we might blacklist you." So I told them basically to get stuffed. That was the Birmingham office, and I'm still not a member of the music. And I was a member from, I think, 2006 to 2017. It wasn't as if I hadn't invested any money in the thing. Yeah. But I thought it was disgraceful. I mean, if you're a musician, you've got no money, and all they're interested is your contributions, membership fee, then that is not a union.
No, a union should come forward when you need help.
I think the problem is, I think the music industry is probably one of the most unregulated industries there probably is. There's too many, as we've seen today, there's too many crooks in it for a start. It's very hard to find honest people. I'll be perfectly honest, the record company that Witchfynde signed to weren't particularly honest people, but they weren't the only ones. There's plenty of them during the 70s, 80s, and probably still now. But we're lucky in the fact that we've got a manager who is straight as a die. He comes from the town just up from us, about 5 minutes away, same place as Shaz's dad was born. So, we've got a lot in common, and we have a good laugh. If I spoke to him today, I could hear the first thing he went, "Shaz doing this, you all right?" And so, it's things are coming round. But when I first came back, I decided to do my own record label, and I got a distributorship and for Viper Records, which unfortunately had to go during having the cancer. And so it was because that's the only way to go. You got to do it yourself. I mean, you can't make money from Spotify and all these things.
Oh no,
I mean,
not at all.
I did use CD Baby before that, which is fair. But the problem is, you can't now. The price of posting, they want 5 CDs. I mean, it's horrendous.
Yeah.
So I said, look, I'm going to bin it, because apart from doing iTunes sort of downloads, you might as well go Bandcamp.
Yeah.
And it wasn't making any money. And so did the record company, over here, and they shipped everything out. So, and through the distribution company, which was a subsidiary of Plastic Head. It was, I had quite some really nice guys on there. One of which was Hell Drivers, which was Graham, who ended up as the singer on Malleus album, and a band called Devil's Answer. We did I think a 7-day tour in 2014 with a bunch of Welsh nutters, and then there was the Phil Thowns from Newcastle and Sunderland for the nice Geordie lads, and we stayed friends with these people. But it ended up where they made a bit of money, but that was it, because there isn't a lot of money there. I mean, they were sending the people were ordering them around the world, and then when they didn't sell, they get them back. So we end up worse off because it costs you more on a return than it does to sell it.
Yeah.
So the music industry in that way is a bit rough. But no, there doesn't seem to be any sort of backup for people, mental health wise or whatever. And I've seen too many people. Well, it doesn't really matter. The counselling service, some of it's good, some of it, especially during COVID, was absolutely dreadful. And without saying too much, that I'm pretty well first, not through me, but through somebody else, first-hand experience of it. And I've got a friend of mine who was in at my Andro Coulton's Witchfynde when it was called Give 'Em Hell, and he's got a personality disorder, bless him, and it took him years to get any help. And it just doesn't seem to be any funding, anybody bothered about it. It's just, it's like, let's just shove it in a corner somewhere and be done with it. But I've never considered autism to be an impediment at all.
No.
And when you look at people who are supposed to be, Mozart was supposed to be on the spectrum, Einstein, Tesla. Because they're the visionaries. They're people that see things through different eyes to the normal people. You can have as many committees as you like in science, but it always comes down to one person who'll have a brilliant light bulb idea. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work out, because then the people with money don't want it because it's free, like with Tesla with his free electricity.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be all quids in if that happened now, won't we? But but going back, the paganism and everything it's been there all the time. A bit of everything, really. You can pick up, bits of sort of Odin and Viking sort of paganism with of course you've got the goats and Mendes and all the rest of it, and but the thing that makes me laugh is how people are brainwashed into believing that you've got this Satan, Lucifer. And then, Lucifer was the name for matches when they came out. It means light bringer. And, all that's happened is that Christianity has brought this pariah out to terrify the masses. And
they need someone to blame.
Yeah. And that's the biggest problem. Always look in the mirror first. And see where you've messed up. But there is a lot of this sort of thing going off. But a lot of it, I can't. That's why I could never accept organized religion, because most of it is not really. It's not religious. It's just there for sheer power.
That's right.
I mean, while we've still got bishops in the House of Lords, then it's there for power. Yeah, where paganism isn't about power. Well, they like to think it is. I mean, they're all in there with with their little black cat and all the rest of it, and a broomstick, with your big pot and everything else. But no, it's more it's the helping people. It's the, I mean, we've done all sorts of things for people. You know, we've had people in bands, in our bands, and go, oh, my wife's left me, I don't know what to do. Or we got together, we ran somebody's shop for a week, a drummer, ran his shop for a week so they could go away and try and sort the marriage out, you know. But that's being a human being.
Exactly.
And that's not being a narcissist and all the rest of it.
No, it isn't.
You know, I mean, we can all be, sort of introverted and look in, but no. I mean, it's like we've got this big gig coming up, and you could just go, oh yeah, big ego, yeah. Look at me, I'm going to this big festival in Germany. I want to meet people. Mm-hmm. When I worked for 7 years in a food factory in Birmingham, and we have, obviously, you've got people from all over the world in there. You've got Kurds, you've got Pakistanis, they're all over the place. And I used to talk to them, and then find out about them, their country, where they came from, and there's with the Kurds especially, there's some completely horror stories, as you would imagine, with Saddam and his henchmen. But they appreciated it because you were interested in them.
Yeah.
And then it also made your life easier because they come to you, and when something went wrong, because I was a maintenance guy, they would at least attempt to tell you what it was. Whereas if you've been nasty to them, they won't give it. Why should they?
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, I mean, Shaz wrote a line in a song. It's called Peace. What I'll be fighting for? What's the purpose of this war? When we bleed, our blood's the same as the people you kill and maim. And it is. But that's the only way that it is. The basic way of human beings is to keep them under control is fear.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, okay, I accept there's lots of fear for people at the moment. You know, they don't know where to make ends meet. They haven't got, all this. But every day you see the headlines in the papers, and it's just stirring up fear.
Yeah.
You have to walk away from that. And I think, as I say, with autistic people, you don't just take it at face value, because like when the Daily Mail makes it every year, the paper with the least truth in it, you're thinking, well, there shouldn't even be such an award as that. And the trouble is that older people especially, that still believe that they're telling the truth, and they lie. There's no other thing, they lie. But yeah, that's my belief in paganism is, yeah.
40 minutes. Sorry about that.
Yeah. You have to pay if you want more.
Yeah, I've sod that. Sorry, it cut you off sort of mid sentence. I do apologise, Andro.
I don't know what that sentence, what it was now I was saying.
Well,
but,
to sort of bring it back, I mean, do you think there should be maybe a formal structure for what musicians can call upon if they need mental health support, or if they need help to get to gigs, for example, if they get turn up to gig and the stage has now disabled access, for example, or do you think there should be some sort of structure there?
Yeah, I mean, you've got it where disabled people, say in a wheelchair, who knows, we could all end up that way. Where you've got that from, access from outdoors, people have to now sort of have wheelchair access and all the rest of it. But most to get on the stage, I'll be fair that one of the best is the Hairy Dog in Derby. You've got the dressing rooms are each side of the stage. They're on a level, and then you've got a ramp up onto the stage, which is quite high. So yes, I mean, obviously it was built there originally so you could wheel gear up there, but you've got that access available. Whereas, let's take Purity Club, last gig that we did, you've got nothing.
Terrible.
You've got nothing there at all.
No.
And you've got the other thing. You've got all these venues that are up on the first floor. You've got a lot of pub gigs which are above the actual bar, and there's no way of getting up there apart from bumping somebody in a wheelchair all the way up the stairs. And I mean, the access is bad enough for everybody else, but no, I think there is, and also the fact is there's not enough. If you're going to have something like the Musicians Union, there should be an area in there for people who are struggling, where they can go for advice and whatever. Where somebody, like in my financial situation, I had to go to Macmillan. Macmillan were brilliant. They told me exactly where to go. I had a 2-hour conversation. They sorted out what I could apply for, where I could go, and even said if I needed it, give me the address of Step Change for the debt people. Whereas, as I said before, my union, as it was, basically stuck 2 fingers up at me. So yeah, there is that, because if not, then people do fall beside. They just fall by the wayside. It can be a real. I've seen so many good musicians that have ended up, virtually crazy, because they don't know where to go.
No,
there's nothing specific. I mean, there is things that happen to musicians that don't necessarily happen. I mean, let's be honest, life on the road is difficult and it's hard.
It's tough.
And if you have a divorce, you can go for counselling. Leaving a band and being sacked by a band is just the same. There's no difference. And especially with somebody with also who's got sort of what people consider a disability, it can be a lot harder. Like I say, it took me 22 years to realise that the only person I was hurting by being angry about leaving Witchfynde was myself. And the good thing is, Montalo and we've met up. Steve was all right because Steve married to Shaz's sister, so he's my brother-in-law. I've known him. He was my best mate before we even in a band. But the other two, we met up in 2011, sort out royalties, because when we never got a bean between 1980 and year 2000. We had to get solicitors to get the rights to the songs back from Give 'Em Hell onwards. So we do get a bit of money, but we never had a lot. And where all the money was made, because the record company went bust. Probably Witchfynde contributed to that somewhat, but that was their fault. I mean, they could have had their money back if they would have sold.
If they'd have done what they should have done.
Yeah, if they'd have done that, they were a fledgling company. They would have made enough money to keep going, get all the bands in. But no, they decided they weren't going to do that. So, yeah, it's it can be hard. It can be very isolating as well as being. But then again, you like your own personal space.
Yeah.
I mean, I never usually had more than one friend, especially when I was a kid. You know, had your own friend, and that was it. You know, it's sort of all this socialising and stuff. Okay, I went down the pub, like I say, in the Seven Stars, and what that happened was I had loads of people there, and somebody I actually went to school with who was supposed to be going into a third person in this house in central Derby, along with Gray and our soundman Rich. He pulled out, and I said, "Oh, I'll do it if you want." So that's how I met up with those two, and then end up as a roadie, and then bingo in the band. So that one, but that was because I came forward. I wanted to virtually be on my own. I want to be independent, and that's how it is. But I found that communicating with people at times can be very. You wouldn't think so on this, I know, but I've learned how to do that over the years. But I could be really sort of isolated, but there again, I had some when I had the bulimia. Steve, actually, I was living with Steve, dossing on his floor basically, and he took me home, and I was only weighed 7 stone, and it was about it, and all I did was I was that ill that I lay in bed, and I got headphones on. I was listening to Led Zepp and Sensational Alex Harvey Band, and reading Lord of the Rings at the same time. And it's weird how the music fitted in really well with the story. And then sort of I had this sort of, I don't know where it came from, but it just, a voice said, "Well, what do you want out of life?" So I want to be in a band and I want a girlfriend. And bingo, it all happened. And so that was a bit of a sort of thing. But we also we are psychic. We do see ghosts. We do. We have a friend on the Isle of Wight, Gay Baldwin. She writes all the Isle of Wight ghost books, and when we go over there, we've been over there years and years. We team up, and she sends us out to different places to see what we find, or she'll meet us up in somewhere and says, "What can you sense in here?" So we've only wanted. Actually, in one of the books, as a family, because the daughter Kirsty, we went and saw her first. She was doing a book signing, and it's always the most haunted place on the island. So it's anyway, it don't matter. But it's because we drove up, and my daughter suddenly started getting upset, and she was saying there's a lion and a griffin on the gates, and couldn't see them ourselves. And she got anyway. This story is actually in the book, and we have been back at night. Night and Gorges, that's the name of the place, and we've got orbs and all sorts. And one of the last times we went, it was about midnight, and a woman in white came past the side of the car. The chassis, there's a woman at the side, and as that, I could see a man in the distance, but I could only see his top half, and I could see his brass belt buckle and no legs. Then a car came around the corner, and of course it disappeared. And so we have all sorts of weird stuff. We stopped a place called Roman Camp near Cromer, and every night this little girl was pulling on the blankets, and she thought it was her daughter at first, but she was fast asleep. It was a ghost. And we have all these sort of things happening all over the place. So we've got enough for a book. Let's put it that way.
Would you ever consider writing a book?
Yeah, I mean, my brother's just written a book, which obviously I'm in it, about his life. I've got enough anecdotes about Witchfynde and being on the road for a book, but yeah, we've got enough ghost stories to do that. We've got from all over the country, but we really have gone out to sort of like Shanklin Manor. You can't find any real history apart from it was a Jacobite stronghold, and that's about the only thing you can find about it. But we stopped there. They built some Mews cottages below it, and it was a hotel at the time. And we rented one of those for a holiday. And one evening, there was a Victorian couple perambulating up the lawn in front in the moonlight. But then the actual drive that comes up from Shanklin Old Village, there's a couple of gateposts, and it's sort of sunk. It's one of these little old roads where it's got like a little embankment each side. You walk up there, and within 50 yards, you can feel a really malevolent spirit behind you. The nearest I can explain to you is from Constantine, those demons like that crawl on all fours. And we've seen them there, and they follow you. We took what we're in the pub one night, and I don't believe any of that rubbish. Yeah, well, come on then, we'll take you up. He lasted 25 yards before he ran off. So, but we've seen it in various places all around there as well. And we spent one evening. We were there when we had the sort of fireworks, Shanklin Carnival. So we went up onto the hills above Shanklin towards Ventnor, parked up, and we were in a lay-by the wrong way around, so you could see from the front of the car. So it was a bit nippy that night, even though it was summer. And next minute, she said, "There's a white lady down there," and then there's a footpath that goes over to the parking space, and one of this thing, the demonic sort of thing, came out and scuttled across the road and went into the car and disappeared in the car in front of us. And so we decided at that point, I think, yeah, let's go, because we couldn't find it. It just disappeared. And but yeah, it was really malevolent, that was. But I learned a long time ago that you have the power to dismiss such things.
Absolutely.
I had a recurring dream like that where I used to walk all these places, and then this thing would be sort of crouched like a gargoyle. And it's one of these lucid dreams, so and you can wake yourself up. And I used to wake myself up every time, and then suddenly I got angry and went, "Be gone!" Poof,
and then gone.
And so, as I say, a lot of time, fear is the only thing you need to fear is fear itself.
Absolutely.
Or the Native Americans won't be walking on scaffolding and all the rest like these you used to see the pictures of.
Yeah.
So we've done quite a lot in that sort of. Yeah, it is a haunted island. There's we've been to a mental. We've got Gate sent us to an old mental home or hospital, and they convert it into flats and houses and things. I mean, a woman chucked herself off the water tower and committed suicide. So we went and sort of said, sort of made out that we were interested in buying a place. And when he walked into the show flat and got punched in the face by an unknown entity. But the birds don't sing. Kids have been scratched. The people can't sell them because none of the locals will go near it.
I'm not surprised.
Off island people. It is dreadful, and it was a horrible place. And then for months and months and months afterwards, you got the people who are trying to sell houses, keep sending stuff to my home. Do you want to? Why are you going to buy one? Are you going to buy one? No,
not to Chads.
No, it's terrible. You could just sense it all the time. Fear and dread. in the place. It was horrible. But
You really should consider writing a book. I mean, you could always dictate it and then get someone to type it up.
Yeah.
Think about it. I would.
Yeah. It's all remembering the stuff.
Yeah.
Most of my memory is pretty good. But it's. I would say that's I find that really interesting with all these sort of things. And what makes me laugh is when you have all these programs, and you sort of used to get Most Haunted, and used to get for entertainment purposes only because you're scary people, and it's all there. The human eye can only see a very, very small part of the spectrum. Absolutely, for a start. Yeah. And if you don't, I mean, the problem is that most people are sight orientated. If they can't see it, they don't believe it.
That's right.
And I've seen people virtually shit themselves when they have seen things, and it's not funny. But another time with the band, we went up on Halloween. We went up to Stanton Moor in Derbyshire. There's a 9 ladies circle up there. But you get a lot of Satanists who are not very nice sort of people up there, and it felt very malevolent. So we decided to bin it at the time. But I've even seen it's the one place in the world that I get disorientated. There's something in that place with the aura around it. I get lost, and I don't get lost anyway. I like my own pigeon. If I've been there once, I can find my way. And then there's a tower, and I walked to the tower, and I got a vision of a knight on a horse. And I could hear the creak of the saddle as he leant over and smiled at me. And I realised that I was looking at myself in a previous life. And it was, that was pretty mind-blowing. So, I'm beginning to sort of, my mind's going there. And and these are where some of the lyrics come from. It's like we've got a song called...
Yeah, it gives you ideas.
Sisters of Fate, which are the Viking Sisters of Fate, the Nornir. So wrote a song about that, about the fact, at the time I was feeling a bit depressed, and the fact that you've got these people, sort of the spinners, as they were called, with this weaving the webs of your fate. Because I think at that time I wasn't in a good place. We've got dark dreams, and it's like Unto the Age of the Ages. I mean, Gray and I wrote the start of that, about the first parts about deja vu. The night when Steve and his wife had a big car crash, somebody flipped the car upside down. I was supposed to be in the back of the car with them, but they came round to me. I said, no, I'm not going. And they said after that, he said, if you ever say you're not going again, we ain't going. Because I mean, Steve broke his ankle. All the car got crushed around his ankle, and he couldn't walk for weeks. And so we've had a few weird ones as well within the band. Things happen, but it's always been sort of Montalo and me that have been the ones that have been into the occult and paganism and everything. The other two go along with. But Gray does write some really good pagan style lyrics. He wrote most of it.
It might be in his blood. I mean, sometimes people never fully realise who they are. I
think the crazy thing is the one song that has got hell in it. Really, when you listen to the lyrics, isn't anything to do with that.
No.
I mean, the first one is a dig at the 3 wise men. There were magi. What? They even call them magi, the flipping magicians, the paganists. I mean, when you see what they gave them, I mean, at that time, frankincense and myrrh was more precious than gold.
It was,
and the fact that frankincense, I mean, that people have used frankincense to cure brain cancer. I know of a 60-year-old girl. She was that terminally ill with brain cancer, and she rubbed frankincense onto on top of a pallet, and she cured herself of brain cancer with that. So yeah, but that's what the first verse is about. And then, of course, then you've got, you know, the third verse is the sort of like getting, you know, happy sat in the back seat. Then your manager, you know, sacks you, and then you're picked up for walking the streets. And it's more like, you know, give them hell, you know, whatever happens to you, you know, stick two things up. But, I mean, I had a guy, Danny Mackie from the Italian band Belladonna. He befriended me, and he said, do you know, he said, give them hell. It was not only a sort of influence on my music career, but on my entire life. You know, and if we've done that as four guys from Derbyshire, you know, that just that one guy. Obviously, there's a lot more than that, but you know, it's worth breathing for a start. And I've always said to these people, yeah, okay, now it's your turn. Carry the torch, and you influence the next generation, and go on from there. So, because, you know, I've got all my people that did it for me, and so it's their job now. I'll just carry on doing what we're doing. But yeah, we'll have a new, going back to Witchfynde, we've got a new album. We've got 2 songs start off with that we're doing the live set that are all Witchfynde songs that got sort of, they're on a live album, that Live Sacrifice album, but they've never been in the studio and played. And then we've got a lot of stuff that I've sort of had some of it from Witchfynde. We did do Sisters of Fate, but I don't like it. I've got it. I know where it is. I've got a recording of it, the original, but I did it again as when I first experimenting with, you know, home recording sort of thing. So we've got a load of that. And then we had a band called ZXY, and we had another load of music. So we've got more than enough for a single. And also Jamie, bless him, he wants to do Unto the Age of the Ages, and it's in the middle bit, you know, after the poetry part, he used a Montali used a bow, and he's been and bought one. So we've got to do that. And it's never been played since 1979. We never did it on the Def Leppard tour or after. It sort of got left there. But we wrote that in 1976. So that first album, Give 'Em Hell, is you know, the songs that are on there were written over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think that's. I mean, you had good friends of ours on. You had Paul from Sabbath Wolf, and I can't remember the other cap's name at that moment.
Oh, they were singing your praises the other day when I was talking to them.
But they, you know, we first met up with them in Bradford when we played there, and you know, they're on the same roster as us now, and we've just we will be playing with them in lots of more gigs, and. He said to me that's why he liked Witchfynde, and unfortunately he said that when they came out again, because there was when after I left and Steve left, 1981, there was a hiatus when they all disappeared and various things happened, and I think the reason was that they owed too much money. But then they didn't come back out till 83, 84. But the whole sound was totally different because he got a new singer. It was more like, you know, he got his falsetto vocals and all the rest of it, and it wasn't the same band. And Paul said it didn't feel the same. You don't got that occult overtones that your early stuff had. I said, well, that's the stuff that we intend doing. And so we've got. I mean, she can write lyrics. She can write just like that. She can. We did a song called. Oh, blimey. It don't really matter what the song is. It'll come to me in a minute. But I wrote this music, and she wrote some lyrics, and said that I recorded them, I sang them, and she said it doesn't really fit. Oh, write something then, because I was at work. I was on a sort of 2 till 10 shift. This was 6 o'clock. Came back here, then 10 o'clock. Came home, and there's a full song, which is now, ended up on the Malice album. And so this is the kind of thing she does. Hell's Fire. That amazing woman. Yeah, I mean, she does. I mean, but she doesn't really. Again, it's like a spiritual thing where she'll just like not go into a trance, but she'll write all the thing out and then doesn't realise what they say. We've got one mystic magic priestess of hell. It's about being under the spell of an evil sort of priestess of of Satanism and whatever. But you can read the undertone is you can read it another way, that the actual priestess is heroin or another addictive drug, because the person is saying that they're addicted to this woman.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's got a double meaning, and she doesn't realise all that. She just writes it, but yeah, she does write some brilliant lyrics. In fact, my brother said to her that he wants her to, because obviously without putting the chorus in, the rest of it is a poem. And she read poem from a child, and he's asked her for 12 of poems from childhood, sort of throughout her life, and he's going to set them, take them to around book publishers to get them published. So he'll have all that done as well. So yeah, things are beginning to happen in different ways.
I am so pleased for you.
So I think the books will have to be. I mean, people like yourself have said so, but you get lost in the other things and life in itself, and then it sort of shut that to the back of your mind for a bit. But yeah, it's always there, and I've got that many anecdotes, some good, some bad with the band. Getting electric shock twice wasn't funny, but no, that was. Not in the face. That was not nice.
No.
But these things happen.
True. But, and you're still here to tell the tales.
Yeah, I worked as an electrician for a while, and for quite a long time, and I've had a few belts off of 240. So yeah, I'm still here. I think that just woke me up a bit. But yeah.
Well, I really do wish you all the best, Andro, and what if you do a book, you can count us as being somebody that would love to read it, and can't wait to hear the new music.
Yeah, with the enthusiasm we've got, it's going to be really good, and we're going to basically we're going to bring out the first two songs as a single, right? A double A side. One will be a lot longer than the other one. Twilight Lady, which is about succubus.
Nice.
And the other one's called Why Don't You, which is a bit more of a straight song. Yeah. But everybody loves it. Whereas Twilight Lady's got 3 parts in it. And then we intend to have the whole kit and caboodle, probably about 10 songs done, 2 at a time, and bring the album out. I think it's October. We've even got the title, because one of the songs will be Grimoire from the Lost Tapes, because I've always wanted to get to do it properly, because that was only really demos. And so the title album was Grimoire and Book of Shadows to nice go in title. With the and I've got a cover for it already, and so we're already there. But I've been trying to get this out since about 2019. But with sort of lineup changes, COVID, and all the rest of it,
it'll happen. Positive thinking.
Well, now it's definitely happening, because we've got all these plans, and then we've got a nice, still crazy journey to Germany, because Shaz doesn't like flying. We're actually driving there, so it will be like still crazy. But that's the great thing. I mean, we went to France, and it was like herding cats, trying to get them all back in the van and all this sort of thing. We lost the singer, and we got to the tunnel, and he disappeared. Before he even got over into Europe. So all the crazy stuff. But just like the Def Leppard tour, there's that much things happened. I mean. And remember, we got from. I mean, I don't know if you saw the other day. I put on that poster from the first gig that Witchfynde did. It was Thin Lizzy, Derby, which was a bit of a coup for a local band at the time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember we started the set with Rock the Nation, Montrose. Bread Van would have been in there, Budgie, and we would have finished with Paranoid, which we still did in 1979 and 80.
Yeah.
But people, I've got this live recording from Brimington Tavern, and all the way through they go paranoid, paranoid, and Steve at the end, Steve's going, oh, you know,
yeah, anything.
Give it up for it, because it's going. They know it's going to come eventually, but it's always the encore. And that, yeah, good memories, good laughs, some good times, some bad, like life.
That's it. You got to keep going.
Yeah, and you know, it's with the same with the paganism. It's there all the time. It's and. To be honest, I want to see the new Constantine film. I love the first one. I thought it was brilliant.
It was.
So there's pity about the series that disappeared. But they tend to do this. They sort of every time they do something that's a bit occult,
they suddenly drop
they get frightened by it.
Oh well, it's their loss.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Andrew. I could talk to you all night. Yeah. I've got to let you go.
Well, I'm never sure to, you know, I always get told to shut up.
I don't think anybody ever says that. Best of luck for the future, Andrew.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll keep in touch anyway.
Yeah, keep us informed on what's going on.
Yeah, will do.
Bright blessings, darling.
All right, on to you.
nature.